Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together, we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys?
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Hey wife, did you know that Anchor is sponsoring our show?
Really? Don't we use Anchor to distribute our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts?
Yeah, and we are on just about every other platform available as well, thanks to them.
Why do we use Anchor as our podcasting service?
Well, they make editing and distributing our show a breeze.
What if one of our listeners wants to start their own podcast?
Then they should head over to anchor.fm or download the app to get started.
Awesome! You guys should go do that right now! Husband!
Wife!
What's a Zion?
Israel?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Well,
that was a guess.
Saturday
That's my guess
Q&A.
yesterday, so... But that's what we're doing today?
Let's
Zion?
find out, yeah.
Okay, let's go find out what the fuck Zion is.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so Zion.
Zion.
Okay, so I'm really glad that we're talking about Zion because it apparently becomes more of a thing that's mentioned a lot, but
Okay.
we have just crossed our first reference to it.
Sure.
And it means lots of different things.
I wondered because it's such a prevalent part of the discussion around Israel in current times as far as like Zionist and Zion
Right.
and all this crap that I don't know really why they're referring to it that way or what it is exactly.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, I get the gist of it, right? It's something to do with Israel. It's Israel-centered. It's whatever, but...
Well, I'm going to tell you what it is.
I know you're going to tell me what it is.
But I just wanted to give you a little history first that
Sure.
It is sprinkled throughout the Old and New Testaments.
Okay.
And it means different things to different people saying it and to different people reading it.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it. Yep.
So the two basic definitions, here's the first one. It's the hill specifically, like geographically.
Okay.
Is the first definition. Okay?
Yep.
It's the hill of Jerusalem on which the city of David was built, located to the south of Mount Moriah, which is the Temple Mount.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The other one, the other definition, which is more New Testament-y,
Okay.
is in Christian thought, it's the heavenly city or kingdom of heaven.
Oh.
And in the New Testament, Zion refers to God's spiritual kingdom, and it's the space in your heart that you reserve for where you agree to believe in God.
Okay.
And it's another word for heaven and that kind of thing.
So obviously there's got to be some sort of like an intermixing between those two thoughts and definitions because it kind of all encompasses some idea in people's heads.
How does one become the other?
Right.
And how it becomes the other is, I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's go back to geography for a sec.
Sure.
Okay? So the city walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt many, many times and in new locations over the centuries.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So the particular hill that is now known or still known as Mount Zion, it's no longer inside the city walls.
Oh,
It's
wow.
still there, but it's no longer in the city walls.
Interesting.
The location is now just outside the portion of the old city wall, forming the southern boundary of the Jewish quarter of the current old city.
Okay.
Most of the original city of David itself is thus also outside the current wall.
Okay.
So the city of David is still a thing, but again, it's been rebuilt over time.
Right.
And so what they refer
it
to
is referred to today as the city of David and not Zion. Is that correct?
Again, it depends on who you're asking and why.
Okay.
Because in the Old Testament, Zion was used as a name for the city of Jerusalem.
Right.
Okay. Then it was the whole land of Judah. And then eventually it became known as the nation of Israel as a whole.
Interesting.
So over
quite
time,
a development there.
Right. Over time, and from there, it developed into the idea of heaven.
Got it.
It's supposed to be like the perfect place.
Sure.
And that's how.
Which makes sense because if you go,
I
mean, just based on what we've read so far of the Old Testament, Israel was supposed to be the promised land. It was supposed to be this place of milk and honey. And,
exactly.
And, so it was that perfect place, according to the Bible.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Why it's both a geography, a developing geography, and an idea and representation of
right. Just
greatness.
Somehow this city, state, whatever word, Zion, became attached to that idea.
Right. I mean, somebody might compare it to like the name America. Like,
yeah.
There's North America, Central America, and South America. But at least for American-centric people and for some other English-speaking countries, when you say America, almost always people understand that you're referring to the United States of America.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a good comparison.
I think that people in the Americas kind of resent that a little bit.
They do, as well they should.
Right.
Because, excuse you, I live in America too.
Right, and it's hard to, like, as an American,
right?
It's hard to break away from that idea that you were taught your whole life because you're taught we're American.
Centralism.
This is America. Like there is no. You do talk about United States, but we know ourselves as America and Americans.
Right.
So
right.
it's really hard to break that
because there's the United States of America, the country, and knowing that you're American versus the continents, and that whole difference is when we say American, we're talking about the United States of America.
Right.
Like, nobody else outside of the United States of America is American.
Right.
Even though they do live on American continents.
Right, right.
So, yeah, it gets very confusing. And that's kind of how the word Zion changes over time to mean different things the same way.
Sure.
So, the location of the temple is the most holy place in the world for the Jewish people.
Okay.
And being the most holy place is how Christians would
associate it with
heaven. And it's seen as the connection between God and humanity.
Okay.
In Judaism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Zionism, which you were getting into a little bit,
right.
is a modern political movement that started in 1897.
Okay.
And supported a national home and later a state for the Jewish people in the land of Israel.
Okay, that makes sense because that's what I kind of associate it with is that it's the political movement of Zionism, of Zionists,
And
Zionists.
yeah, and I'd heard of it and I knew it was a Jewish thing, but I had no idea what it meant.
Right.
I really it was, not important to me, I guess. It didn't impact my daily life, so I didn't seek kind of more information.
Not being religious, not growing up with religion, not having it like really mean that much to us. It's hard to understand the concept of there's a large group of people that want to religiously hold on to a piece of land somewhere over in the Middle East for this certain group of people, and look, they actually made that happen.
Right.
Like, that to me is somewhat crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, wow, that's kind of nutty. But I mean, in a
not knowing much about it kind of way.
Right. I don't want to take away from Israel and their right to exist where they are, and historically, obviously, even based on the Bible and other historical facts, there are reasons to think that this is partially, maybe they have some claim to this land. So and after World War II, I understand even the mindset of giving them this land. So like it all makes sense at some level to me, but at the same time, we're basing this on a God still.
Right.
Like this whole country, that they are dealing with is based on a God that they gave to people.
Yeah.
So
the Zionist movement declared the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, following the United Nations partition plan for Palestine. So they
took away land from the Palestinians and said, "Here you go.
This is yours back again."
I
have mixed feelings about it, and you're not supposed to complain or say anything wrong about it, but I just feel like...
Well, think of how much shit it started.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, we've been fighting about this since that happened.
Right.
Like, this has caused major upheaval in the Middle East because of this Zionist movement that we've backed as Americans.
Yeah.
and I don't know. I struggle with it because I see what it has caused, and it's all based on a religion, you know. And
right.
I don't want to say that I don't think that they have. I'm kind of walking a line here because what happened to the Jewish people is a tragedy.
Of course,
it's an absolute tragedy, and to say that I don't think that they have the right to exist there would be terrible of me.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't not talk about this without admitting the horrible situation that it has caused, and that
for
it
the
is
Palestinians,
and that it is still causing.
Right.
Well, and not just for the Palestinians, but other Middle Eastern countries that have claim to this area as well. Like, this is a contentious area that they procured for the Israelites, or Jewish people as a whole.
Right.
You know, I mean, it just is. You cannot say that it's not. So, and this is a very touchy subject to talk about. Like, you can't, if you say the wrong thing, you get in trouble, and whatever.
It's not that you get in trouble. You get painted as being anti-Semitic.
Right.
And I don't know if this is an anti-Semitic view or not. I don't want to be the person that says, I'm not racist or I'm not anti-Semitic, because I don't know, maybe I am not meaning to, but maybe I do hold some ideas that are not correct.
I don't think that, I mean, so I look at this, I look at this from a humanitarian standpoint, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, but my opinion is that, generally the people with the big guns are Israel right now over there, and they are shitting on the Palestinians, and they're not working, real hard to get them a clear state of their own, and again, have they done terrorism? Sure, but if you were held hostage in a land that used to be your own, wouldn't you feel upset too?
Well, of course.
That's just, I can't imagine. I can't even imagine what they go through. I don't know. I mean, I definitely, this is something that I think we've discussed, you and I, that we want to dig into this more as far as that relationship down the road through this podcast, because I want to understand it as much as I possibly can, especially given the material that we're reading.
Right.
Because I think it's very, very important to understand this as a present tense understanding of what the Bible is about, what it is doing, how it sits with current historical events and recent historical events.
Right.
It's very important.
And I didn't really expect that I was going to be relating any of this to modern day geography and politics, quite honestly. When we started this podcast, I had no idea that I would be...
That was all my fault. I went there, so...
No.
I mean, it's...
No, not this episode. This podcast as a
Bible.
whole.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. I was expecting, like, we're just reading the Bible and we're reading Bible stuff. Period. The end.
You and I have talked before, and history is ever present. Like, you can trace so many things back, so many generations, and the Bible is just one more of those things that takes us back way further than a lot of the things that we've discussed, like slavery and different things that affect us still to this day in our country. But the Bible still affects us from thousands of years ago. Very much so.
It shouldn't, but it does. The fact of the matter is it does.
Right. So it's still relevant. Things that happened thousands of years ago are still relevant because of our current take on what religion is and how it is treated.
Right. Exactly. So getting back on track, though.
Yeah, sorry. I went way off the rails.
Zion is one of the names according to Jerusalem in Arabic and Islamic tradition. So I found that interesting because, remember, I told you it depends what Zion is. It depends on who you're asking and whether you're talking about geography or history or Christianity or you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Within the Latter-day Saint movement, Zion is often used to connote a peaceful, ideal society, and it has to do with a lot of saints and stuff.
Similar ideals to what? Yeah. Okay.
the origin of the word seems to predate the Israelites.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There was some mention of Hittites and a bunch of other people that I didn't mark down because...
Well, we talked about early on that, the Israelites may have sprung from one of these other groups in that same
the
area
Canaanites.
too. Right, yeah. I mean, it's not... Anyway, there was definitely intermixing because even in the Bible there was intermixing between these groups.
Right.
As much as they don't want to admit it, they do still admit it.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's there.
It is there. So I don't know where the word itself came from.
Sure.
And most scholars today don't either.
Got it.
Today, Mount Zion refers to a hill south of the old city's Armenian quarter, not to the Temple Mount.
Got it.
Okay. They're separate.
Got it.
And, most interesting, final fact of the day.
Yeah.
King David's tomb is located upon the hill currently called Mount Zion.
Interesting. So, do we actually know that is actually King David's tomb, I guess?
Apparently.
That's really kind of cool.
I mean, we haven't got to David dying yet, so...
Right.
I didn't go look into that more, but I will file that away as something to check out.
I mean, at least for maybe the end of the whole David thing, like that might be really interesting to look into because if we actually know where this dude is buried, like for real, that's
get the fuck out of here.
Pretty fucking cool,
right?
Historically speaking, like
I don't know if his bones are in there, but it is believed that that is his tomb.
Yeah,
that is where people would go to celebrate or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not about religion. I'm not about gods, but history. Yeah. History to me is, I love history.
I have developed a love for history.
I think that would be, just based on how much we've dug into this kind of stuff, it would be really cool for me to go see that, I think. Just to
be like, huh.
Wow, we
read about that guy.
That's from thousands of years ago.
Right.
Like that's just amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was all. I was just,
Well, that's all I got for you today.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go any further on about my history.
I feel like I might have opened more doors than I closed.
I think you might have. Yeah, I'm definitely more intrigued to learn more about it now. But that's what this is about. This is about making the journey and finding out what we can find out about things. So. And
we will be reading more about Zion both in the Old and New Testament. So let's try to keep a reminder in our heads of what Zion is again?
And okay.
But for now, it's interchangeable with Jerusalem.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep. All right. Well, that was our Q&A, and tomorrow we are doing our book club.
Yes.
And we will be doing our...
weekly replay.
Weekly replay, yes. Mm-hmm. And then on Monday, we will be back with 2 Samuel chapter...
6.
All right.
But as far as the book club goes, if you are going to keep up, we are reading through page 32 of Asimov's Guide to the Old Testament and New Testament.
Yeah, so if you've been slacking, get on that shit right now.
I'm about halfway through the reading, so guess what I'll be doing?
I know what you'll be doing. All right, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yep, bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep. We have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegiousdiscourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.